Yeah, Troy's got his Comics Code mug and his Wonder Woman 84 shirt.
Yeah, the best movie. No, this is from Destiny Witch Queen.
Wonder Woman 3.
Oh yeah, World War III is going to be the downfall of civilization.
I was like, let me ask you, in Witch Queen, did anybody get raped?
No, I don't think so. I'm not in charge of narrative, though.
Troy had to think about it. He's like, I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure.
Are you on the hunt for a game where that happens?
There was a sexual harassment email that went out about Bungie, so I mean, like, you know,
there's 60-40
there.
That just seems to be like a nick that you have to have. Like every game studio has some sort of sexual harassment claim.
I mean, I feel like in the industry, if you don't
need
have
to get on
one,
that.
then like
you're out of the United States.
Well, you're a fucking loser.
If you don't have one, then you haven't hired any women yet.
No, I think if you don't have one, no one's complained yet. That's the thing.
You need to get on that. You need to make that. You need to make that happen.
Pedro Pascal sent the company email. He's like, look, I'm not saying anyone's been sexually assaulted, but it could be better.
Hey, I got a little bit of a tan. I was just on a vacation.
I was going to say, he looks pretty tan to me in comparison to the four of us.
I mean, I got burnt to shit while I was camping the other weekend, so...
I got a sunburn from my shower, so I mean, I'm pretty white.
Well, that's how white, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you do live in the Pacific Northwest, so...
Are you showering outside? Like,
no, I
you not afford an indoor
there
shower?
There is a window in my bathroom, in my shower, which I find very weird, but...
There is one in mine too.
I'm on the ground level,
there,
but it's like one of those where it's like half underground. So literally anyone walking by can just like look down at my shower, and I find it very uncomfortable
and arousing.
Yeah, Troy needs a window in the bathroom so he can keep an eye on the Puerto Ricans across the street at all times.
I moved to a nicer neighborhood. There's no ethnicities here.
Yeah. He's like, with the amount of taxes I'm paying, he's like, you better believe them.
Troy's like, the only ethnic person in my neighborhood is my wife.
Yeah.
For real.
What are we talking about?
Hello, boys and girls.
And welcome to episode 41 of the Nothing to Play podcast, a mediocre podcast about video games, movies, and consistently releasing episodes. As always, it's your boy Just in Time Carter, and we're gonna cut the format. We got the same motley crew that we usually have. It's been a minute since the last episode. Everyone's been busy. Troy got married. Matt went camping. Brandon went and did that, Chernobyl escape room in Yuma and stuff. So we haven't been able to record an episode sooner.
He's been stuck there for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, he was stuck there for 2. He couldn't solve it. The meltdown happened, guys.
I'm still there.
I'm still there.
He's recording from the escape room.
Coming to you live.
He's stuck there until someone else signs up to do the escape room, and then he's released. And then Tanner also started his podcast. If you go all the way back to episode 3, when he initially talked about it, it's finally here. So you can go check that out as well.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's really refreshing.
Possibly even longer than that.
But today, I'm excited that we're finally going to get to talk about the comic book movie we've all been waiting to talk about, Morbius.
Oh. Even better.
Even better.
Movie happens.
Yeah, dude, it slayed at the box office last week, right under Sonic.
If we did Morbius, it would be more, in line with the release of the film. Since we're doing this like 6 weeks later.
Yeah, but then it wouldn't be in line with the podcast, as Justin always does an episode like 3 months after something happens.
Yeah.
Well, it's 2 weeks post Morbius, so I'm sure it's already too late to do Morbius.
Sony is gonna get that Sinister 6 going, guys. It's gonna fucking happen.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Flashpoint's gonna happen, and then Jared Leto's Joker is gonna work with Morbius to fix the timeline.
Batman.
Yes, we are talking about the Batman, though. The one and only Robert Pattinson's Batman.
Yay.
That's it. We're good.
Yeah. All right.
The thing is, I actually found some really interesting stuff about Scream 2, and I want to talk about that more than the Batman right now.
That was pre-start of the pod talk.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
move all this shit
That's
to
where
the
my
end
mind's
now.
at right now.
Yeah, we can circle back around the screen, but you've been dying to talk about the Batman, Troy. I know you've been excited. You were the first one to see. You took your wife, pre-wife, not even your
Yeah.
real wife at the time. It was just your fiance to go see the Batman.
Yeah, the check hadn't hashed yet.
Yeah.
No, we went and saw. So it was like the week we were in. We got married technically the day after the Batman came out, but you know how midnight screenings are now like a whole fucking day or 2 days now before the movie comes out. So we went, I don't know when. It was the day after my bachelor party though, and I was like so dead. I had like 2 hours of sleep. I was super hungover, and I think we got into a huge fight, and we still were like, but we're going to see the Batman. Like it's on the docket. As if we don't go now, we probably won't for like 2 weeks. And she's like, I don't want to hear you fucking complaining the whole honeymoon how you haven't seen Batman yet. So we went, and it was man, I love it.
That's what Troy knew.
She was like, that's just what New York needs. Another pouty white guy moping around.
What's funny is when we went to New York for our honeymoon, outside of our hotel were like giant, like 5-story high billboards for the Batman. So like every day when we went out, like giant, like what's his name as the Penguin staring at you while you're eating breakfast, or like the Riddler. Like actually, it was kind of funny. We had making jokes whenever we thought we were lost. We would just look around for the Batman posters, and that's how we knew how to get home.
Like a bat signal.
Oh man! Oh, it only took 2 months for that joke to hit me. But yeah, no, I loved it. I mean, like, it's very hard for me to still to say it's my favorite Batman movie, as I've seen The Dark Knight like 120 times. But also, like, I thought it was pretty perfect. Like, I have very little complaints after one viewing with the level of hype train that I had. You know, might be biased, but I loved it.
As a surprise to no one on this podcast, it's my favorite Batman movie.
Really? Like, I think I have the problem too of, it's like, I love The Dark Knight so much, but it's one of those things where it's like the Joker makes that movie. If the Joker wasn't in it, then it's like, obviously it would be a different story. I think the Batman, character wise, like consistently across the board, I think it's a better movie, but I can't pass up Heath Ledger's Joker though. I just can't.
Sure.
I can't bring myself to say that.
Yeah, it's hard to directly compare those two movies. Like after I went and saw the Batman with my wife and my son put it really well after we saw the movie. He's like, I think that was a better Batman movie, but The Dark Knight was a better Joker movie. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, not like this was a Joker movie at all, but that's really what defined The Dark Knight was the Joker, and then this movie focused more on Batman, which is great.
And I loved it too. My hype levels were absurd, and I walked out of it and with a couple different thoughts. One was like, it's probably the best Batman movie. I didn't feel comfortable making that claim right away because I didn't want there to be like recency bias. And oftentimes when I revisit new releases, like I start to see the holes and stuff, and I don't enjoy it as much. So I ended up going back to the theater to see it again, and I thought it held up perfectly the second time around. I've waited my entire life for a Detective Batman movie, and so
Dude,
damn near we finally got it.
Choir, Tanner, like, good fucking lord! I'm surprised it took this fucking long for them to get a Detective Batman movie about the world's greatest fucking detective.
Yeah, his literal superpower, like the thesis of the character. We finally got it.
Well,
and
I love the Riddler being an actual Riddler also, like, and we get into the character and everything, but on the note of like Batman actually solving things, it was refreshing being someone who's read good Riddler comics. And like Jim Carrey, I love him, don't get me wrong, but Jim Carrey was just an insane person. Like there weren't actually like hard to solve riddles. It was like, oh, what's black and white and dead? Oh, but like there actually were like legitimate riddles that Batman had to actually solve, and it was really nice seeing that.
Yeah, no, and it's just there's a lot of puzzles within puzzles, which you see a lot in really good detective-driven Batman comics. Like, it was amazing. Like, I really loved it a lot. Like,
although somebody pointed out, I think I read something where someone was pointing out that by the end of the movie, it almost felt like Batman didn't really solve anything or didn't really like save the day, because he, it got to the point where, yeah, they captured the Riddler, but it's not that he even really captured the Riddler himself. The police went and found him, and then once he questioned the Riddler, then the Riddler kind of like gave him these hints to kind of guide him toward figuring out what the big plan really was, and then he was too late to stop that. And it's like, well, did he actually really like solve anything? Did he really stop anything from happening? It seemed like the bad guy kind of got away with what he wanted to.
I'm fine with that. In like, he's just a year or two Batman. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not been on the job for a long time. He's super inexperienced Batman. That's fine. That's fine that he had to kind of figure out how to save the day in hindsight, kind of.
I was gonna say, I would argue, like, in this movie, he was actually a really terrible detective. like they had this clue of, like, a winged rat was like one of the main riddles.
Yeah.
And it was
Maybe
like
it means
his
this. Maybe
second
it
or
means this.
third
Maybe it
guess.
means this.
Like an hour into the movie,
Yeah.
he's already done like 2 or 3 different versions of this, and now he's like, "Is it a bat?" Like, and that wasn't the answer, but it's just crazy that it took him that long to even think of that possibility, because he's
Honestly,
like a
that
key
whole riddle
part
was-
of it.
That whole riddle was confusing because they kept throwing out all these kind of like red herrings, like these different interpretations of it. I'm like, well, fucking pick one. Which one is it?
But bat
that's
should be
what-
your number one guess. Like,
But I actually loved that aspect of it, whereas so many times, not just in Batman, but in like hard crime movies in general, it's always like, oh, what's this totally like obscure clue? Oh, I know exactly what that means. That's from this 1984 article that I saw one time 7 years ago. Like, I hate when that happens. So him like getting some guesses wrong made the movie seem more realistic as far as like a detective story goes. Like, it's not real where the cops get the first guy, every time. Like, sometimes there's some wrong guesses along the way, and I like the transition. And also on that note, like,
fine if it was like one wrong guess and then they figured it out.
I
later, but it
agree
seemed
with
like
that
they were kind of going
approach,
back and
but
forth
what
on
do
it.
you think if somebody were to tell you a winged rat? What's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
So
Pigeon.
pigeon.
that's true. So I get where you're coming from, that it is a really easy to solve riddle, but you could also layer on top of that a lot of the other things that I really like about the movie is that there's a lot of psychological aspects of Batman that this story that they're telling really harps on quite a bit, which I really like. It like touches on a lot of those. And one of those things could be that Bruce or Batman was never really thinking that could be an answer. Why would he be the one that he's after?
They call him out on his bullshit a lot in this movie.
They sure do.
I mean, that was one of the other aspects I really like too, is how fucking like unhinged he is, like the entire time, like sleep deprived, like manic writing, fucking. It's like no wonder he got it like wrong so many times. Motherfucker's running on like 2 hours of sleep. Like he comes home from fighting Batman shit and then scribbles in fucking shorthand like 36 hours worth of fucking notes. Eats a
Right, and
piece
then goes
of
back
toast,
out on
and
the
then goes
street
back
in a
out,
hoodie
yeah.
and just
We
like
get the-
watches everybody.
We get the classic noir voiceover from the detective.
definitely.
I like the way they
Yeah.
started the movie a lot.
Yeah, that was some like
Yeah.
Punisher war journal like shit
Well, it's
where it's
like
like day
also-
47.
He talks like as if he's a serial killer. Like he's talking about like,
Right.
oh, I need to choose my victims carefully. And like it reminded me of Dexter, honestly. Like, which I loved because Batman, like this version of Batman, I've told a lot of people like is probably not the most accessible Batman. Like if you love Adam West, you're not gonna like this.
Yeah.
But
He's a freak.
He's a crazy person. Like he belongs in Arkham Asylum just as much as like the Joker and Riddler. Like
Which is
he's
something that
insane.
they've touched on like here and there throughout Batman, right? In some of the movies, and I don't read the comics, but
In
my
this
impression
one-
from what I've heard from other people is they touch on the fact that he's like, just like a half step away from being as nuts as some of the people he's
Yeah,
playing.
they even say he's directly responsible for these
Yeah.
criminals like coming to the fold in Gotham,
Yeah.
saying that he's like the one that's bringing them out of the shadows and shit.
Well, they touch on my favorite thing about like this type of Batman, which is that he is more Batman than he is Bruce Wayne. Like that Bruce Wayne kind of died whenever his parents died, and he's still reliving that trauma every day, and that's still stuck with him, and that's why he does the things that he does.
And they take that literally because he is Batman like 90% of the movie. Like there's like 3 Bruce Wayne scenes.
Like even whenever he's Bruce Wayne, he's like the most emotionally detached person on the planet.
Yeah. Whereas like the Nolan, or even the other like versions of Batman, when he's Bruce Wayne, even if it's just a mask, he knows how to play Bruce Wayne. This Robert Pattinson doesn't even know how to fake it. Like he's just Batman all the
he's just
time.
like, I don't care.
When he's not wearing the mask, it's not like, oh, I have to pretend to be, happy billionaire. No, he's like, I don't want to fucking be here. Like, fuck you people. I'd rather be Batman right now.
And I think that's something where I would like to see, hopefully they're going this way with, future sequels. I'd like to see him growing into the point where he does learn how to put on the billionaire philanthropist, mask and have that public presence as Bruce Wayne when he needs to. But yeah, he hasn't learned how to do that yet. Batman is the primary and Bruce Wayne is just, that's this guy that I have to be sometimes. Yeah.
Well, we got a little bit of growth of the character with that scene with Alfred in the hospital, and that's a trope with Batman that I always love, where he's like, he pushes away the people that he loves or that love him just so that way he doesn't get hurt again.
That's the one like really funny part of the movie. It's like Alfred gets a fucking bomb to the face. He's in a coma. He wakes up. He sees Bruce. He's just smiling. First thing Bruce says, "You lied to me, Alfred." Like, dude, he's on the deathbed, dude. This man's like your father figure, and the first thing you say is, "You lied to me, you motherfucker."
It's a very like emotionally detached thing to do. He's just doing what fucking Batman does. It's the reason why Dick Grayson leaves. It's the reason why almost everyone who's ever around Bruce leaves in the comic books. He's emotionally detached as fuck.
Dude, I really want them to do Court of Owls for the sequel. Like, I think that would be the next logical step.
I don't know. I thought they were going to, but now I don't know, because aren't the Court of Owls supposed to be in the Batgirl movie, which is not in the Patterson universe or whatever the fuck DC's doing over there?
I don't think so, because Firefly is the villain of that movie. So it'd be weird to have Firefly and Court of Owls together.
Well, I mean, you never have just one. Like, no
that's
Batman.
A weird combo.
So is, I don't know, like fucking the Penguin and Riddler and Catwoman, I guess. Like, it's not like they interacted with each other all that much. Like, you can have one and the other. Like, I just read a story where the Horde of Owls are like dictating all this stuff, and they're basically like using the Joker and Bane to manipulate things from behind the scenes. Like, it can be done,
Yeah, but it's like Court of Owls.
You normally have one main villain, and then normally all the side villains are kind of adding to the story, and I kind of like that aspect.
Yeah, to me, it wouldn't make sense to even have Court of Owls be the villain in Batgirl, because it's about the fucking Wayne family is like the entire thing for Court. So it's a Batman like story.
I thought that I 100% agree with you. I would love Court of Owls in a Patterson universe. It seems to fit in line. Like doing Mr. Freeze wouldn't make sense in this universe. But like that's what I heard. I thought Court of Owls were in Batgirl. Like I'm just going off of rumors.
I like that they incorporated Hush a little bit into this Riddler.
I was going to say, would Court of Owls make sense for a second movie, though, or more like a third movie? Because isn't it a little early in Batman's kind of like career here for Court of Owls to start showing up? Doesn't that come in later?
Doesn't matter, really.
I think it's actually a really perfect jumping off point, because all the stuff that happened with his dad and Falcone and all that stuff, like he's starting to realize that his parents weren't the mythological, like beautiful, like perfect people, and so you would take that, like, and him trying to dig deeper into his family's history would then uncover stuff like that. But also, like to Matt's point, it's also a perfect jumping off point for Hush, actually, as he could find the whole like Elliot Thomas or whatever his name is, the guy who's Hush, like. And the orphanage, they brought it up, so like there's some direction that you go with that too.
Well, that's what I was saying. I think Riddler basically is Hush. Like he's both Riddler and Hush. Like it seems like they kind of did a fusion of the two characters.
But I was like, for Court of Owls, it would make sense too, because like the city kind of got destroyed a bit, like at the end. So then the Court of Owls can step in to fix take up the mantle of like fixing Gotham, of rebuilding. And then since he's already looking into like the history of the Waynes and stuff, like figuring out that the Court of Owls aren't the nice people that they seem to be, and they've always been around, and they fucking run the city.
Yeah, it matches with his ridiculous paranoia as well. Like, the people around him would be like, no, these people are awesome. Like, they're helping the city just like you are. And he's like, I don't trust them, Alfred. All right, I don't fuck these guys. I don't know what's going on over here.
I honestly
and also have Firefly.
I honestly hope we could get a little bit more. We could transition. I think we could transition from this movie to a little bit more superpowered villains if we wanted, and I think that could still work in this universe, honestly, because I think they could take it anywhere.
Yeah, because jumping really far ahead, I think the part that really got me in the movie is we got this 3 hour long, basically 7 David Fincher movies in general. So 7, Fight Club, Zodiac, that type of interpretation of Batman, and it's really dark and serious. And there was legit terrified kids in both times I went to go see the movie, especially with the introduction of the Riddler. They screamed they found him to be a very terrifying presence. But the end of the movie ends on such a warm and uplifting thing that we've never seen before in these films, which is Batman being a hero and saving people and being a guiding light. So I interpret that as there might go a bit of a lighter direction with the continuing of the series, because in the end, instead of him just beating the shit out of bad guys, now he decides I'm going to help people instead.
Mm-hmm. Troy, did you pick up that they kind of did a little bit of Schneider's Riddler a little bit, where the city gets flooded and
0 Year?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I thought they were going into No Man's Land. So in the 90s, right after or right before Nightfall, which is the introduction of Bane, which I think that they are going to go Bane personally, but I'll get into that later. There's a earthquake that destroys the city, and basically the government's like, man, fuck this place. And so they have to, it's basically there's no help by any means. And so the villains come out and it becomes more of a Yane land. So that's the direction I thought they were going with the end of the movie, where the Riddler what Matt was referencing is there's a very early story, early in Batman's career, the Riddler comes out, he floods and destroys the city, and then he basically holds it hostage. So I definitely think there was something there, but the Riddler's in jail now, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the rest.
That's all I'm saying. He just floods the city, and
it could definitely have been. Yeah, I highly doubt that 0 Year wasn't used somewhere in Matt Reeves writing the script. When
or
he was
inspiration.
Looking for inspiration. Yeah, absolutely. There's too many similarities for that and not to be.
Also, interestingly, Matt was talking about how he was kind of like Hush in this movie, but in the animated adaptation of Hush, they actually make the Riddler Hush, which is a weird choice, but there's some parallels there too.
When are we getting Clayface, guys?
I know, god damn it, that's the one fucking villain I want to see in a Batman
would work
movie.
For this kind of detective kind of Batman.
I don't think it would work with this particular interpretation because they're trying to go so
realistic.
Well, you could take away some of the supernatural aspects of Clayface. He's not stretching and shooting clay.
So
out
what
of his
is
body
he?
And stuff like that.
Just a shapeshifter?
He's a skinwalker.
If you watch the animated Batman series, Clayface doesn't start as a blob monster.
He's an actor.
Yeah, he's an actor who's failing, and he uses props and stuff to switch his face around so that he can commit crimes while looking like other people.
Kind of
and then he just starts permanently affecting his facial structure or whatever, his skin.
And you would definitely, just instead of making him a blob monster, it does make him super ugly and affects his mind, and he goes crazy while, he goes into
but he's still a master of changing his face. That would be pretty cool as a villain.
100% agree.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that Batman used what looked like the Bane serum into his leg to just go completely plus ultra and just beat this fucking shit.
By the way, did I miss something? Did they like foreshadow that part at all? Like did they
No.
ever show that he had
No.
any sort of serum or anything? Because I
He's
thought
just got
that kind of
utility
came out of
belt
nowhere.
shit.
It was like a weird MacGuffin thing at the end.
I
That was
agree,
one
it was
tiny little issue I
weird
had with the movie.
if you don't like read comic books or anything, or you have no association to like that. I could see it being really weird. I think that was a direct callback to a story called Venom, also from the 90s, because before Bane existed, Batman was using the Bane serum to help himself after, like, you know, getting his ass beat tons of times, and he ends up getting addicted to it. And there's this whole story where he has to end up going to Santa Prisco, which is where it's being created, and like all this stuff. And then Bane shows up in the comics like several years later, so that's why I think they could be going that direction, where the next one, you know, he ends up fighting even harder to fight people. He relies too much on the serum, gets addicted to it, and then the third movie could end up being Bane and like the fallout of that.
He's like,
You have my permission to
No.
die, Mr. Wayne.
I think they'll be doing it very differently.
I hope so. God.
So I just wanted to say, since we were talking about the Riddler quite a bit, I had a little bit of issue with the Riddler in this movie, with this interpretation of it. And I'm not sure 100% that I could pinpoint why. I feel like I'm probably relying a little bit too heavily on the fact that I really loved the cartoons version of the Riddler from the animated series, being that like kind of like real poised and proper, you know, gentleman kind of guy. And not that I was really expecting that they were going to do that with this version of the Riddler, since this was going to be a much darker movie, obviously, going in. But some stuff that kind of like turned me off a little bit and made me not like him as much was I really didn't like that he got his hands dirty in this one. I really, really didn't like that he himself personally was like killing people. I would have rather seen him as like just the brilliant mastermind behind the scenes and coercing people into doing the dirty work for him. So I was surprised by that choice. And I don't know if, you know, you guys have read the comics and everything. Maybe there's, you know, versions of the Riddler where you know, he is the one that's actually killing people.
I also kind of chalked that up to the point where it's like, not only is it kind of like year 1 or 2 for Batman, but this was also like the very beginnings of the Riddler too. So he's not like super established, not like super in on his game and stuff, where you're right, normally he's just kind of behind the scenes and kind of leads everyone else like pieces to do everything. But since he's not established or anything like that, you know, he, I think, had to get his hands dirty to make stuff happen, because, you know, the people on Reddit that he was talking to weren't going to do it for him.
Bring that up.
He's
Like,
got 500 followers.
yeah,
He's
I think
$500.
he does do some of that stuff. Like, yeah, sure, maybe in the very beginning, the like start of the movie, which I loved, like seeing him standing there, like watching in the dark, like, man, that set the tone for the whole movie, in my opinion. But like, other than that one murder, the rest of it, he is like setting things up and manipulate. The whole fact that he just wanted to kill Falcone, and he had to manipulate the Batman into helping him, or like the bombs around the city, like him getting his, you know, Instagram followers to set that up. Like, he does actually do quite a bit of like manipulation and having other people do his dirty
he does.
work, you know?
I'm not saying that he doesn't. I was just surprised to see him actually getting his hands dirty, and I didn't really love the costume, you know, with the dominatrix outfit or whatever.
You have such a
He's wearing
great
it, and he looks
emotive
amazing.
actor in Paul Dano, and you see him for like 3 minutes of the movie because he's in that mask the whole time. But when he does take the mask off, he goes like full Paul Dano.
He emoted
just does
as well as
all
he
the
could
things I
for
expect
having
from
all
him.
that shit covering his face. He was very like animated.
I mean, the scene in Arkham was great. Like, he is like very like, he played a very unhinged.
He got to
crazy
do
monster.
all the things that he loves to do in movies, which is cry and scream and act like a maniac.
He was amazing, and like, I loved him as the Riddler. I agree that costume's a little weird, but also I remember hearing that they were really trying to go with a Zodiac killer like inspiration, and that's why it went that direction. But man, I thought he was awesome, and like, we haven't talked about the whole deleted scene But I'm actually glad in retrospect that they did not include it, because I think it would have watered down the first time Batman talks to the Riddler in Arkham. If we had already seen it like an hour earlier in the movie with a different character, it probably wouldn't have been as cool to see the Riddler go all out in that scene. If you saw two people do very similar things, it wouldn't be the same.
You got a good point. Yeah.
Can we talk about how beautiful this fucking movie is?
Yes. Early in the running for best cinematography next year, which was shot by Greg Fraser, who actually just won for Dune. He shot Dune last year.
Nice.
So,
Didn't he also do Blade Runner 49?
That's Roger Deakins, like the greatest cinematographer of all time. He actually did win for that movie. But they also utilize in this movie, it's not obvious, and I don't know which scenes exactly they are. I have a theory on which ones they are, but they use that LED technology that they use on Mandalorian in this movie, which is like everything looks so good. Whereas opposed to
Volume.
you watch like No Way Home and everything is like, okay, it's not taking me away from the experience, but I can tell that everybody's standing in front of a sheet of green. Like it's very apparent
He also
the texture.
did Wrote One. Star Wars.
Well, that makes
Rogue One.
sense.
And that was beautiful too.
Yeah, I know he did something else. Yeah,
Dude, yeah, I've seen that Mandalorian documentary, and they show that room where they filmed that, where it's just like the giant circle of like screen. I'm like, dude, that is intense.
My
Like,
theory is
seeing
they
that.
use that for the Gotham rooftop scenes or like the bat signal scenes and shit is what I think they use it in.
Gotham just
theory.
looks beautiful. It just looks like this amazing, amazing city. That's
They tried to make it look different from all the other Batman movies. So they filmed in Liverpool in England for a lot of the movie, and then I think they also shot in New York and one other place.
I
too.
heard Stockholm. That's where they had to shut it down when he caught COVID. Was in Stockholm, so maybe some of the scenes were there. I think the at least the graveyard bite scene at the end. Like I'm pretty sure that was in Stockholm.
I liked their kind of generous use of sunrise and sunset, dusk type of like different times a day throughout this movie. Which really I think set it apart and kind of created that different tone compared to other Batman movies, where either you have a lot of nighttime scenes or you've just got a scene or two here and there that's just broad daylight. This one I thought had a really nice like mixture and really focused a lot on those like kind of early morning or late evening hours.
The biggest thing is it's perpetually raining the entire time.
Yeah,
and
it's
it looks
awesome.
awesome. It must have been hell to make this movie, but like, god damn it, does that not look great? All that
Dude,
rain.
That was one of the other things I thought they did a really good job with too, was the actual Batcave. I thought was like a perfect merger of kind of like the Christopher Nolan, like kind of high tech side, but also keeping with like the comic book kind of, it's like an actual fucking cave with bats in it and
You have
stuff.
to like
and,
drive into and everything.
yeah, where it wasn't all like super clean, sleek, whatever. Like, it's that merge of the technology was high, but like it was also kind of dated at the same time.
Interesting that Wayne Manor is like a skyscraper in the middle of the city. I haven't seen that type of interpretation before.
It's kind of like an Avengers mansion versus Avengers Tower, which like everything's gravitated towards now modern wise.
For one hermit, his butler and an assistant that's like 80 years old.
Well, I wonder if it's like more like he probably has like there is a Wayne Manor somewhere outside the city, and that's always actually been a thing that a lot of modern Batman comics have talked about, where it's like he doesn't even live in Gotham. Like his Wayne Manor is outside of Gotham, and people give him shit. It's like he's crossing city lines to beat up people. But I think it's more like, it's like Wayne Tower is 90% businesses, that they rent out the space for, and then he has a penthouse at the top. Like that's how I assumed it was.
Well, the Batcave is at that building. Like that's where he lives. Like that in this.
In the
interpretation.
bottom, like
yeah.
Maybe the Batcave is at the top, and he just has
that is his
windows,
home.
like
that
the windows
building,
are blacked
which is
out,
a strange,
like installed.
That is
bats.
well, because he went down into the subway to get to it. So like I didn't figure it was in the same building, because then why wouldn't he just take an elevator why would he have to ride a motorcycle through an abandoned subway tunnel to get to it?
Because
he
it's
was
hidden
dressed as
from the rest of
Batman.
the building.
You can't
Yeah,
just
because
walk in dressed
anybody
as
could
Batman.
just ride an elevator into it, but it takes a
Well,
real
that's
badass
true.
motherfucker to ride a motorcycle.
I feel it's
into
more
it.
like any hobo wandering around some subways could just stumble upon it, whereas a very specific
they don't have the
elevator that
clicker
you
to open
only
the
get to
door.
if you have Bruce Wayne access codes could get to the Batcave.
But a hobo wouldn't do it because they established they don't know when or where the Batman will strike because he's struck fear
You're
into
afraid-
all the
afraid of
citizens. So,
shadows.
yeah,
What a great
they're
fucking
afraid of the
scene.
shadows.
that was. I did like that. That everyone's like paranoid.
Really
Like,
shit in your
Yeah. I
pants.
loved how they started it. Like, oh man.
Yeah.
So
Oh my god.
on the note though of the filming locations, I was wrong. So there's most of it was in Liverpool, some parts were in London, and there are like 2 other smaller London towns. And then there's Glasgow, Scotland, is where some of it was filmed, and the only American city that was used was Chicago.
Well, yeah, of course.
Chicago is
crime capital of the world.
It's I
they
mean, it's
use that
I'm
for
pretty sure
Dark
I saw
Knight
it too.
too?
And like, I mean, the Dark Knight was in Chicago too. Like, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
they've established that Chicago is perfect Gotham.
It's Gotham.
Along with other technical things, the fucking score, man.
Yeah.
What an amazing score. It's been a long time since I've heard like an instantly recognizable score where it's like, oh yeah, if I
Yeah,
hear that
Batman's
note, I know
theme.
that that's the Batman. Like,
Yeah,
whenever
that
I
was
hear that.
fantastic and just so subtle, just simple, like 3 notes or whatever, That
Oh
was
yeah, that's
fantastic.
the strange thing too. Yeah, because like Matt Reeves said that he wrote this Bruce Wayne based around Kurt Cobain, and then obviously they use
Right.
something in the way from Nirvana
Yeah.
twice in the movie.
Yeah.
I know.
But
I
it
thought it
still
was
worked. It
in
still
it at
worked.
all.
in its entirety too. It's not like a 30-second snippet. It's like here's the whole fucking song at the
Right.
start of the movie and at the end of the movie. But the score, I've noticed, like the main score is using the same notes from that song and like elongating it, so it's like in tandem with that Nirvana
I
song.
didn't catch that. That's really
Oh.
cool. Yeah, I thought the song was a good choice, and I read something after the fact saying that when he was writing the movie, he was writing the Batman, or he was writing the intro of the movie, he was literally listening to that song, and I was like, okay, well that makes sense. Just worked it into the movie itself.
Yeah, dude, one of my favorite scenes was when he was with Gordon, and he's like, "Yeah, we don't use guns," and he's like, "We motherfucker," and he's like cocking the gun. He's like, "No, you don't use guns." He's
Yeah,
like, "I use
love-
guns."
As much as I can be like, oh man, the Batman was awesome, Robert Pattinson was Batman, and the Riddler was awesome too. But like, this is my favorite Gordon. This is like the
really
first
good.
time I've actually seen a real James Gordon. Because yeah, every other time, even in Justice League, when we had Jake Hay Simmons, he was just a dude. But like this dude was, it makes sense that he wouldn't trust anyone and that he would confide in someone who he doesn't know his name and knows is a complete psychopath more than the other cops, because he actually cares about solving and protecting in a super corrupt police force. Like I love James Gordon. I love that the buddy cop dynamic that they had when they were
Yeah.
solving the riddles together. Like
Yeah.
it was perfect. Or even when like Batman's really in trouble, like in the precinct because he was like knocked out or something from the bomb, and Gordon's like, "All right, you're gonna punch me, and make it look real," Like man, I
Great
love it.
scene.
And bust out your squirrel suit.
Yeah,
I mean,
when you jump on.
You
I mean,
could have
all of the
pulled the
supporting cast-
punch. I did.
yeah.
All the supporting cast is great. Like Penguin's great.
Who would have thought Colin Farrell?
Who
be a
would have
perfect
thought?
I
Batman?
know.
Oh my god, what a transformation!
He's like
Didn't look like him
unrecognizable
at all.
Throw 100
Yeah.
pounds of makeup and he becomes a good
Fucking
actor.
Crazy.
Colin Farrell's always a good actor. Well, maybe
I
not
was
always.
just
I did
joking.
see Daredevil, the movie.
Oh man,
But,
I just remember him in
bullseye.
the phone booth.
That
He
was an
pretty
interesting
terrible
one.
in Fantastic Beasts also.
Well,
I
that's a terrible
disagree.
movie.
I
It's
thought
just
he was
not a good
perfectly
movie,
fine.
but I think
Yeah,
he's good in
right.
it.
Yeah, I don't think he was the issue.
I
With In Bruges, anyone? In
Oh, he was
Bruges?
awesome in The Lobster. I forgot.
Seven
what that movie
Psychopaths, The
Dude,
Lobster, Killing the
Lobster's
Sacred
really
Deer.
good.
All right, I take it back, Holland Farrell.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, if you're one of the 3 people who are a fan of this podcast,
They're all
I
on the podcast right
He'll,
now.
I
he'll pick it up
apologize, Holland
eventually.
Farrell.
Give it time.
But I really liked
Catwoman.
I liked Catwoman. I thought she was good.
She was really good.
She didn't like overstay her welcome or anything, and was actually like badass, like doing stuff.
Yeah, she
I
was
liked their
great.
chemistry.
Yeah, they had. Oh my god, dude, they were steaming. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tanner's in the theater, like, woo!
No, but like literally, like that was some insane chemistry. Like you thought they were gonna fucking fuck like carnivores, like in the first scene together.
Right.
They're like,
Right.
don't let him see us, but also like pull your pants down. Also,
Yeah.
grade A creep Bruce, like spying on her, changing in her room.
Right?
Dude, I thought she was really great because also like with the Arkham games and even a lot of comic books and stuff, they make her a real slut, and like I get the aspect that she uses it to her advantage, and I think they played a lot on people expecting the year 1 version of her where she was a prostitute, and then they like flip it on where even Batman's like calling her a prostitute, and she's like, "Bitch, I ain't no prostitute." But like I thought that they did a really great job for people who like Catwoman, and not, like gave her a certain level of sexuality that she used to her advantage, but they didn't like whore her up, which I think is something that a lot of people have a lot of trouble doing. Like, I don't know, as like you look at Anne Hathaway's Catwoman, like the complete opposite. There was almost no sexual. Like to me, it made no sense that she would get together with Bruce Wayne, or why Bruce Wayne would be attracted to her. Whereas this is like, you totally understand why Robert Pattinson would want to fuck the shit out of her, But like also
Yeah.
they didn't make her an actual like.
You could see him for like
object.
30 seconds consider it at the end when she's
Yeah.
like, "Come with me to Bloodhaven."
I mean, it's like the only woman in his life that didn't get shot in an alley somewhere. So
We've talked about this in the group chat, but I'm
man.
fairly certain he's a virgin, right? He has to be.
well, yeah. I mean,
The
he
way
hasn't
he
got
acts.
time to fight.
He's married to the city, Tanner.
Yeah. He's got a premium account on freecams.com.
Yeah, they tied her story into like, which is not something I never picked up on. I guess I'm just an idiot, but like the Tim Sale, like the Long Halloween and then Dark Victory, like they go into that Falcone connection, which I was just always a dumbass on and like never saw
Yeah.
that subtext when I read those books. But it's something that people reference all the time, and then they did it in this movie.
They even I love that they even added the part where she scratches his face and leaves him a scar, like something as small as that. That's from the Long Halloween.
We need more people who like comic books making movies, guys.
Well, the problem is when you have nerds making movies, either it's awesome and it's the Batman, or it's awesome and it's the Last Jedi and everyone hates it. Because Ryan Johnson is a huge nerd that made an amazing movie, and people are like, "Fuck this! It's the worst movie ever. This fucking nerd doesn't know how to do things he loves." So it's sometimes a type wire or whatever.
And then they listened to those fans, and we got Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Like, the worst film in the franchise, including the prequels.
Yeah.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
But then you also just to keep going down it, the problem is you'll have people like Zack Snyder who takes tons of things from comic books and then puts them into movies thinking people will love them, and then you get Batman vs Superman. Like, as there's like 4 different comic storylines that he mashed into one. I'm sure he loves, who doesn't love The Dark Knight Returns, but then you get stuff that people don't.
I
like,
don't at this point.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of Dark Knight Returns. I don't get it.
I loved it up until the point where Hollywood used that for all of their Batman movies for the last.
Yeah.
In
And
fact,
personally-
I don't like Frank Miller Batman in general. Like, I don't like any of his runs with the character.
I think I think this is completely bullshit.
I like Frank Miller. I just don't like his
Year
Batman.
One is amazing. It's like the blueprint. Dark Knight Returns, I think, is probably the best Batman story of all time. You have Batman and Robin All Stars, which is probably the best Batman Robin combination. It's literally they I'm pretty sure Robert Pattinson has talked about if they have a Robin, the way they'll play it is exactly like the Batman Robin All-Stars that Frank Miller wrote, where it's an insane person literally kidnapping a child and forcing him to be a ninja against his will. That's how it is. It's crazy. And I think that they're gonna do that probably in one of the sequels.
I would like to see Robin, please. It's been long enough. Like, let's get
Yeah,
it.
as long as they can do it well.
Well, we only got it in
Good
one
God.
movie, and it was
He
terrible.
was basically Nightwing at that
He
point.
was in both Schumacher movies, but yeah.
Did
he was
anybody
made as a
else-
joke.
Well, yeah. Did anybody else feel like in that scene in this movie in the Batman when he's looking at the kid, was it the mayor's kid or whatever after they find the body and stuff, the whole crime scene, and then he's just staring at the kid, and that's when it first starts playing something in the way, and he's just looking at the kid, and it's like, oh, he's seeing himself in this kid, whatever. Did anybody else feel like maybe he's looking at this kid like, I could kidnap this kid and make him fight crime with me? Like that literally crossed my mind. I'm like, what if that's Robin?
He hands the kid a 9mm. He's like, "You want to fight crime?"
You want to get revenge?
But no, that's actually a really good point.
Robin could though.
What Robin would they use in this universe if they were? Would they use Dick Grayson? I assume they would, but I mean,
Probably.
I could very
Get him from
easily
the circus?
see like Damian working.
There's been some changes.
He'd have to fuck first.
Dick Grayson's been Nightwing for fucking 30 years now. I think they should just skip it, go right to like Jason Todd, or go right to even Tim Drake. I would prefer Tim Drake. He's my favorite Robin. He doesn't get enough love. The entire Batman animated series was Tim Drake. Like a lot of people who are Batman fans that are our age don't realize their favorite Batman is Tim Drake. Just go right to it. Like fuck all this other stuff.
I don't know. I have a soft spot for Damian in my heart.
That's true.
Yeah, but see, Batman would need to fuck to get Damian, and we don't
I know
if that's.
but they could twist it though. He could be like his I don't know, fucking cousin or something. Like they could.
He's fucking his.
Hollywood will find a way. It's all the cranberries, man.
God damn it!
How about that Batmobile? That
It's
was
great.
a sick
Oh.
scene. A sick car, sick scene.
Car chase.
Oh,
I'm afraid
hold on.
to watch it. I'm afraid to watch it on HBO.
I have an
Max
observation.
Because, no, go ahead. Sorry, you go ahead.
Oh, and I have an observation about the Batmobile scene where he actually drives it, and how humorous I find it that he goes like on foot with Catwoman to this criminal, like location, right? I don't remember the exact details of the scene. You guys might remember better than I do if you've re-seen it, but they show up there. They find the girl, right? Her roommate. They find her dead and stuff. It was just after that part where they find her in the car and stuff. And then Penguin comes out and whatever happens, there's some little exchange. And then all of a sudden he's in the car down the alley firing up the engine and everything. So at some point, if you back up, he had to drive the car there and back it into this alley quietly somehow, this loud ass car,
He
without
put it in
anybody
neutral.
noticing, and park it and leave it there in the shadows. And then he got out of the car and he went fucking elsewhere, and then walks his ass to the scene later just to have the car available so he could fucking chase Penguin. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know if there's something I'm missing, but that just seemed kind of absurd.
I
if you
didn't
really,
go
like,
down
look at
that
it.
story path. I just assumed he parked the car there outside of the building.
I'm
and then when they
literally
got
trying
there,
to
they
find a way
showed
to
it.
justify it, and I need to watch the movie again so I can find a way to justify
Yeah,
it.
I don't.
Maybe I'm
I-
overthinking it, but I'm just like, how the fuck did this car get here without anybody noticing?
I don't remember. I don't think he showed up with Catwoman, actually. Like, he showed up, and then I remember him, like, looking and seeing Catwoman and being like, what is this fucking bitch doing here?
Yeah,
She's
because
gonna
that
ruin
was
my
when
day."
he had to. That was like the second time he had to get into the club, and he went in as Bruce, right,
Right.
with his shit in his backpack, and then he
Right.
changed into the Batman clothes when he got inside.
Right.
Yeah,
So at
yeah.
some point before
Which
that,
also is
he
weird. He's
drove
in the
car
bathroom
there
at
and
a
parked
club.
it in an alley.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
like
no,
people
I mean-
doing Molly in the bathroom, and he's just like
That-
sitting there.
The questions that Brandon are asking are what you should be asking as far as applying these suits in like any of these movies, like just how they do that quick change and the logistics of that, because that's a better plot hole to go down.
It's nanotech.
Oh my
Yeah.
Oh, it's extremis.
Extremist.
Just like we got in Iron Man 3, right?
Yeah.
Can we not talk
And then they
about
used
Iron
it for
Man 3?
Spider-Man like 4 more times after the fact.
And instead
I
of
love it when he
Jarvis, he's like, okay, Alfred, suit up. And then it's like,
I love it when he
Pepper,
wasn't
you got your
wearing.
suit.
I love it when he wasn't wearing the Batman suit. Half the time, he just didn't fucking bother taking the makeup off from
The
around his
makeup's
eyes.
always
He's just
there. Yep.
He's like, no,
Actually,
he's like, I'm gonna put this fucking thing back on again soon. So
I saw a video that was like it was like when Bruce sees the Bat Sentinel in the air and he like hurries and runs to the bathroom, starts applying like makeup really hard, and then runs out so he can get changed.
yeah, dude, I would love a scene in the sequel where like some woman comes over and uses the bathroom, and she's like, dude, there's like all this like mascara and like fucking shit. You must be like a playboy. He's like, oh, stop, like no.
I really love that touch though, because it's always bothered me when you watch the other movies. You can see that their fucking eyelids and all the shit around their eyes are painted black, but then they take the cowl off and it's just like pure whiteness, like
Right.
in all those movies. So it's like I love that they actually incorporated that into the script because they were recognizing how ridiculous that is.
yeah, it's all just part of being more grounded, which they did really well.
I guess my one complaint is he's got this badass armor suit and he's got like a thin leather mask. So like if anybody shot his head, he's instantly dead.
I do want to call out that might actually have been the only part I didn't like is he gets shot so many times. Like so many. There's a part where he's like taking like machine gun like shots to the chest and it doesn't even phase him. And I love the fight scenes. Like don't get me wrong. And that specific scene where it's all dark and you're only lit up by like the muzzle flash, artistically awesome. He would be on his ass. There's no way that every bullet would not hit any exposed spot. His whole like just hit him in the face. Like I did not care for how bulletproof Batman was in this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if Justin's doing a video version of this pod, but I wanted to show you guys this. I had to get it because it was so hilarious. But this is a McFarlane Toys, the Batman action figure without the helmet, and look how hilarious the Robert Pattinson head is on this bad boy.
He looks like the drummer from Kiss.
Dude, it looks like the Amazon driver left it out in like the middle of the afternoon and his like nose melted a
It
little
looks
bit.
like Robert Smith from The Cure.
Oh my god, yeah, it does. Get a little bit longer hair.
Dude, I saw someone posted some like the Batman toy and like the head was literally Star-Lord's. Yeah, it was Star-Lord's head from the Guardian one. Yeah, and they're like, oh my, like, dude, I'm losing it right now. Like, it's literally the same exact head. Like, they just took this head and put it in this toy.
Wow.
That's the same figure.
Well, granted, I mean
meant to get this one.
that's what toy companies have been doing for fucking decades, right? Just ripping off each other's toys and repainting them and remolding them.
I just want DC to keep making good movies like this. Can they do that?
They can try.
They have a.
We'll
they
see.
have a
The
chance.
AT&T reign is done now, so let's see what Discovery has in store for the brand.
I mean, we've gotten the Batman, and the last two things we've gotten are the Batman and Peacemaker, and both were really good. So I have
And the
high
Suicide
hopes.
Squad.
That is true. So the last three things we've gotten have
Thanks,
been really
Gunn.
good.
Yeah.
Well, honestly,
But-
like I think DC gets a little bit too much shit because people
Yeah.
are still judging it based on Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, and like those movies are like, all right, I forgot that movie existed. All right, give me a break. All right,
Outside
I
of
forgot that
84, I
movie
think
existed.
they've been on a really good run for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
They've
I mean
made nothing
Shazam
but
was
good movies.
awesome. I love
Shazam
Shazam.
is awesome.
I actually do like Aquaman on a rewatch. I didn't care for it as
I
much
like
when
Aquaman
first
quite a
watched it,
bit,
but
yeah.
I'm very excited for the sequel. I think that they're even like we've talked about it. I love Birds of Prey. I know that it's not everyone's favorite film, but like I think that they've been on
I
a
still
really
haven't seen
good
the film,
stride for a
so-
while. I think they've just been on a really good stride for a while, and even their TV shows like Doom Patrol's awesome. I don't know, Peacemaker. Like I think that they're honestly, in my opinion, in a better place than Marvel because Marvel's been putting out shit like the Eternals and like has not been getting even their good reviews are like, yeah, Black Widow was a movie. You know, like I think that DC's been doing really good, so it's not fair to
I
be
feel
like,
like
oh well,
Marvel's
and they come out with a
stretching a
good
little
movie
more.
finally.
They're
Like
taking their chances.
the Joker also did that like win awards and stuff. I thought the Joker was awesome.
I think so. It was nominated.
Yeah, it won. Well, actually, it only won for Best Actor. I think it won a lot of awards at other shows, but as far as the Academy Awards go, I
Yeah,
think
that's
it
one
just
that.
won Best Actor. It might have won Adapted Screenplay too. Now that I think about it, it's possible.
I could count on one hand how much I give a shit about movie awards.
We're just talking about prestige and like recognition
Yeah.
as like high art, which is like the one time. I mean, they literally changed the Academy Awards because The Dark Knight wasn't nominated. So at the time, they only had 5 movies a year. There was such an uproar because The Dark Knight was such a vastly great movie, widely recognized, but you know, to critics and stuff, they're like, well, it's a comic book movie. I can't take it as a serious film. So then they changed the criteria since then. So now it's 10 movies, so they can count movies like Joker, things that are connected to comic books, but are also high art.
Yeah, and then now
So,
they're going to
yeah.
have to change it again because Will Smith socked someone on stage.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's talk about that because we all haven't seen enough of it. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be
Well, that's fine. He hasn't made anything good in 10 years.
Well, he won his award, and it's
Yeah.
the only one he was ever going to get anyway, so
Yeah.
he doesn't need to go back.
But yeah, the point though is that like DC's doing really good with like stuff like the Joker and doing those things that aren't connect. Like if they stop trying to be Marvel and do this, like first of all, I think their place is R rated or hard PG-13. Like even like you taking your kid. How old was your kid when you took him to the Batman?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Well, you're the only one that has
with
kids.
children.
I guess I am. Oh, he's grown. He's 19 now.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah,
For some
he's
reason, I thought you
already-
had younger children.
He's already working on his way up to Matt. He's like totaled like 3 cars at this point.
I'm the ripe old age of 39.
I don't know, man.
I think
but
I think DC just leaves a bad taste in my mouth with just the really bad ones that come out. I mean, you're completely right, Troy. Fuck.
saying that gave him an
You're
aneurysm
right,
because
but I
he's so
can't remember
used to
what
it.
you're right
Brain's
about.
like, this is not something that we should normally say.
Yeah, I know. And we shouldn't bump up Troy's ego at all. But Black Widow it's a very average spy movie. Like that's what it is. It's not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not great. And Eternals is what Eternals is.
Just wait 3 weeks from now. Strange 2 will be out, and then we're all going to be right back up on the
I don't
Marvel
know.
hype train.
I have
Like,
serious concerns, man. I have serious concerns. Like
Troy's
I'm
been
afraid.
on the Marvel hate wagon for a while.
It's
now.
not a hate wagon. It's like I just legitimately I loved Spider-Man 1 and 2, and I thought 3, like I think they're leaning too hard into like they're leaning too hard into how do we make Reddit happy. You know, that's where my mind's at. Like, and the same thing happened. Why Star Wars Episode 9 was terrible. You know, those are not the same studios, but still Disney. And like the past couple Marvel movies and even
That's like
their
50%
TV
of
shows
why that Star Wars movie is bad.
have been like, hey, how do we make people like happy and retweet us? Like, what's the craziest shit we can do instead of providing a really solid plot? Like, and I love Sam Raimi, so like I'm hope. I it's more a concern. It's not like I'm like sitting here being like Doctor Strange is gonna suck, but it's like I'm concerned that they're gonna hear more about how do we get Tom Cruise in here and how do we do Professor X and how do we make the most cameos so we have the most tweeted thing ever instead of like just a rock solid good plot, you know?
yeah, which is a huge juxtaposition to this movie because this movie is 3 hours long and it's very, very, very dark. It's very slow burn, slow pace. There's almost no action in the movie. There's like just very small spurts. Like basically everything you see in the trailer, that's all the action in the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Except for like the final encounter, which seems like a type of thing that came from a studio note where they're like, Matt, this movie is 3 hours long. You don't have any action in it. You have to have like some sort of climactic battle, which is like, Riddler's locked up now, so now he's gonna go fight, QAnon Riddler followers like at Madison Square Garden.
For real.
So it's like, it seems like, and not to make this comparison because this movie's way better than the other one. Not to say that the other one's bad, but it's like the Wolverine, like where the Wolverine was like a really cool, like dark, melancholy, like samurai movie, and then you get the third act where it's like he's fighting a huge like silver samurai mech. It's like they're like, we have to get some action in here, guys, because there's kids coming to see this movie. We got to sell some action figures.
We got to repaint all these old Transformer toys and turn them into silver
which
samurai
is like
mechs.
which is kind of the same thing with like the Dark Knight. They're two very different movies between the Dark Knight and the Batman, because the Dark Knight is like that classic like structure where it's like every 15 minutes you get a big action scene and it's like really spectacle. And it goes from that. And this is the opposite of that. It's like just lots of talking, slow stuff. When there is action, it's close up. You're just seeing him get shot to shit in the chest before he gets close enough to like pound their faces
he's
in.
like breaking arms and stuff. Like, I do love how brutal the Batman was in this. Like, the fight scenes were not like super. I wouldn't even say they were super well choreographed or smooth. Like, it wasn't like I was watching, I don't know, like John Wick or something. But it reminded me more of like, he was just beating he was more like Daredevil, honestly, Netflix Daredevil, where it's like, he's not a very well-trained fighter because this version didn't travel the world. It's more Earth 1 Batman, where I think just Alfred, who like taught him how to like box and stuff. And he's like, all right, use weapons. I don't know, throw sand in their eyes. Like
very Earth 1.
Yeah. And like just, he's so brutal in this one that like, I get what you're saying. Like, you can't have 7 of those throughout the whole movie because it won't translate. Eventually people will be like, man, Batman really can't fight. But you only have like 2 or 3 of them, and people only remember like, oh, wow, he beat the shit out of that guy. Moving on. Here's 30 minutes of dialogue now.
Which I was actually for, like I said, I didn't mind the even though it was a 3-hour movie, it didn't feel like it to me. Like it went along very well at like a good pace and stuff. There wasn't times where I was sitting there checking my phone going, is this shit still going on right now?
Yeah. And like, I guess that also brings me back to the point about what DC's doing instead of Marvel is like, DC's the Batman, just let them do whatever they wanted to do. Matt Reeves wanted to have this story, so they did. And the Peacemaker, I guarantee the studio didn't tell James Gunn to do a damn fucking thing. Like, he made the show that he wanted to make. But like Marvel, the reason why I also have a little bit of hesitation is like, I think that's very studio driven. Like, they do have to sell the toys. They do have to, like, I saw a meme that was like, how in the Batman, when he says I'm vengeance, there isn't a joke that immediately undercuts it, because in every Marvel movie, anything serious has to be undercut by a joke. Where like you and like Peacemaker was known for having those obscene like jokes, but why I loved it was it had some very serious moments. And like Marvel doesn't seem to be allowed to do serious moments without allowing kids to laugh also.
What about the attempts at mass genocide from your favorite film, The Eternals?
Yeah, that movie was... I don't know. It wasn't even
you have to remember too, Eternals gave us the first gay black man on the big screen.
We also got our first Marvel sex scene in that movie, which is a huge milestone. 26 really movies into the series.
Was there a sex scene? I don't even remember.
On the beach, bro. They were banging in the sand.
And you see Robert Stark's ass for like a solid 7 seconds, just thrusting away.
Which is Steven Soderbergh, really famous filmmaker. He had this bitch fit last year when he was talking about superhero movies. He's like, I just can't get into them because nobody's fucking. Like, I can't understand like how people can go about these stories or be motivated or anything, and they never have sex on their mind, like at all whatsoever. So he's like, so I just don't connect with those stories because it doesn't make sense to me because everybody wants to fuck. But apparently not superheroes.
What? That's so wrong. Like, I'm trying to think like,
And we're talking about film adaptations, not comic books. Talking
No,
about the
Iron Man.
movies.
Not even counting the Watchmen that actually has nudity set scenes, but like you have Iron Man, like Tony Stark's constantly trying to fuck. I'm pretty sure there's like 7 set scenes throughout those 3 movies. Like the beginning of Iron Man 3, there's a set scene.
Tony Stark
So
like hits
very
on girls
weird.
in the first movie, but you're not getting like sex.
No, but it's like
I don't know why
off-screen
that
sex.
needs
That's
to be the
Troy's
line.
getting
Like
at.
obviously,
Well,
Thor
he was in
trying
that
to
cave
fuck
with that
Jane
guy
Foster,
for a long time.
You know, like
Okay, outside of Tony Stark, like I mean, you get Peter who wants to like kiss MJ
well, he's also
in
7.
Paris.
He's like supposed to
but,
be
like,
17 years old. He
But
doesn't
there
know
isn't. What I'm
realistic
saying
yet,
is there
alright?
not really any romanticism. There isn't anything driving characters towards that
I'm-
type of
Are
relationship.
you
Is
kidding
his
me?
argument?
Guardian.
I'm
First,
just saying I feel this
Captain
way.
America, you would very easily argue that the only reason that Captain America did anything is because he wanted to bang what's her name, you know? Like I think that's so wrong. I think that every single movie has like every male character other than like maybe Batman's main motivation is banging the lead woman.
Give me some Marvel examples from the last like 5 to 10 years.
Guardians
Well,
of the
Thor was
Galaxy.
trying to bang Jane Foster. Steve was trying to bang what's her name, Captain Carter. Like that's
Those
half
movies
the
are
reason
like
they-
over 12 years old now, though. I'm talking
Oh, all right,
about.
so recent Marvel
I'm
movies.
talking about
Yeah,
under
you
the
can go
Disney
all right.
reign. Under Disney.
What's it called? Doctor Strange was definitely trying to bang that other doctor. From what's her name? You know, like that was they
In
had
the first like
existing-
10 minutes, they were banging. They were like a couple.
Yeah, exactly. So like I'm just saying, like
We're talking about character motivation.
Does this
like, he
man
wasn't.
need to
This is a dumb
legitimately
conversation.
only- I know,
Yeah,
I know,
Why
I know.
did we go down this rabbit hole?
As I think,
Yeah,
it's,
why
I
is this
think
the hell
whoever
we're dying
said
on?
this is insane. That like he has to have set scenes, or he hands.
It
like,
is a
He's
ridiculous.
not saying
thing to
sex
say.
scenes. He just says that the characters aren't motivated by sex. They're not
Yeah.
interested in sex, which he finds to be a flaw for characterization.
That's just so insane. Like there are people that are just not sexual. He doesn't.
I
seem
mean,
to-
this is the guy that he enjoys watching Homelander slurp up breast milk.
okay.
Moving on.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, it's from The Boys.
Well,
Right.
at least we know that in this movie, in the Batman, like we came very, very close to some fucking going on, as we established earlier. Like
Hey,
he was just like,
she
"Let me
didn't have so
grab
many
you."
cats. They were pussy blocking.
Yeah.
You got a lot of cats. I love that.
Yeah, so it
But no-
seems like general like reactions, like most people aren't into this Joker that's introduced in this movie, and we also mentioned like the deleted scene. I don't think it's a
didn't
big
like
deal.
The scene we got. I didn't like that scene because you didn't see enough of him to really form a good judgment. And I could barely see him in that ending scene. If that's what we're talking about here, the actual one that was in the movie in the theatrical release.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
what I mean. Most people are basing off of. It's
Right,
just, like,
exactly.
The one that they
And
saw in the movie.
I was completely underwhelmed by that because I could barely I don't know if I just wasn't getting a good look or what. Or
No,
I
it's
felt like the
intentional.
scene
He
was too
doesn't
dark,
want
like-
you to see him
Right.
clearly.
You could see like part of the side of his face, and I felt like the makeup looked super weird. It looked messy to me. Like
I think that was
I
on
don't know, like-
purpose, though. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that the way they're doing it, and I don't know if this is officially said, but like, it is kind of cool to think that the Joker fell into a vat of acid and it came out looking like pretty Jared Leto. Like, it's actually kind of nice to be like, no, acid burns. Like, it
No,
actually
that's
gives
totally
him, like,
fine.
chemical
I'm fine with
scars
that. And
stuff.
with the scene that they released after the fact that we all talked about separately, like on Facebook or whatever, when that came out, I liked that scene. But the scene that was in the movie, because I got to see the Joker well enough that I'm like, okay, I see what they're going for. I'm cool with it. I got to see enough of his kind of like acting and how he's doing the character. I got to see some range and everything with his emotions and stuff. That was totally fine. I liked it. But the scene that we got in the movie was very brief. You could barely see what he looked like. His laugh sounded goofy, and he hadn't really I felt like he hadn't really worked me up to the point where I was like accepting of his character. The other scene was better because I had the time to really sort of sink into it. So I was not like a fan of this scene and didn't like that.
I know you mentioned it earlier, but I'm actually in the opposite feel. I feel like it would have been a lot better if they kept that scene in. I understand your reasoning, like it's like kind of a parallel scene to the one with Riddler later, which I don't find to be an issue because you have interrogations in detective movies all the time, and it's going to take place in the same setting and shit. But like, and we've talked about this in our group chat before. Like, I personally feel like it should be an all or nothing approach. Either you have both scenes or you have neither of them. And I feel like it works a lot better if they were to have kept that scene because it establishes that this is somebody who's encountered the Batman before. He's actually responsible for his origin. And then you kind of get more excited about like these two could be teaming up because you actually got some time with that character earlier in the movie. Whereas the way they made them edit it, it seems like they're going with the Marvel approach where they're like, let's tee up something for you for the future.
Exactly.
But the interesting thing about it is, and I think the reason why that they obscure how much you can see him is because intentionally Matt Reeves doesn't want people to make a big deal out of this character because he's stated ad nauseum like many times that he has no desire or intention to use that Joker in an immediate sequel.
Thank
like he
God,
said it many
because,
times.
Good.
Like
He said he's not using the Joker. He's just using that as a mechanism to establish that Gotham is like this. These people are coming out of the fold because the Batman is becoming a larger presence.
See,
That's the point.
I would have felt like if I had gotten the interrogation scene with Joker somewhere earlier, like in the middle of the movie, and not had that scene at the end, I would have felt less like they're trying to set up for Joker being the key of like villain in the next movie. But the fact that all we got was that little tag at the very end with him, I'm like, oh, they're setting up Joker for the next movie.
Yeah,
is the way it made me feel.
I personally would have.
That's fair.
I think I do agree. Like the deleted scene does just establish like Batman has fucked with people before. Like the Riddler isn't his first supervillain. And I really did not like the scene at the very end. Like as it does, it just feels like they're setting him up to be the villain of the sequel. So if that's not Matt Reeves' intention, it seems even less like it makes less sense that the scene would exist as. I don't think there's a single person that didn't interpret it as, oh, the Joker's the villain for the next movie. So
That's
if they're
exactly
not
what my
doing
wife
that,
said
then
walking out of the
why
movie.
put
She's
it
like,
in
oh,
at
well, you know
all?
he's going to be the villain in the next one. I was like, I hope not.
Yeah, he's we talked about, you know what he's doing? He's pulling a Ryan Johnson. He's teeing up for a Last Jedi type film where now everybody's going to be expecting to see the Joker, and then it's going to be Mark Hamill tossing the lightsaber behind his back in the first scene of the movie. It's like Joker's just going to get murked in the first like 30 seconds, and we'll never see him again.
Well, I heard that there was going to be a spin-off TV show that was going to star Jordan, I think, or probably like some of the other hops like Montoya or whoever. And then that morphed into an Arkham Asylum TV show. So I almost wonder if the Joker actually will show up in the TV show and not the movies.
I hope so, because I'd like to see more of them.
I would like to see less Joker. If we could see
only
less
in the
Joker,
last,
that'd be great.
Only in the last 2 minutes of every episode, and you'll only be able to see part of his face. They'll just do that every time. That'll be the only way we ever get to see the Joker.
He's like the guy in Home Improvement that has like the fence over his face. You just see that the whole time.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd be down for some like New 52 Joker of him wearing his face as a mask.
Yeah. That's what I thought they were going with at the start. But then when we got the deleted scene, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because that's kind of what it looked like. I was like, is he missing like part of his face? Is he going to wear it as a mask later?
Yeah, that would be so cool. Oh, man.
Tell me what you guys think about this too. I had a thought when I was first watching the movie, that early scene when Batman first shows up, when he finally walks out of the tunnel and like takes out those thugs in the like subway area. Those guys have some makeup on their face, some like white makeup. And so my thought there was, oh, what if these guys are connected to Joker? And that was way before I had any idea if there was going to be any reference to Joker in this movie. But that was my first thought was, oh, these guys are painted up like they're Joker followers or something.
Like the Joker gang from Batman Beyond.
And then I kind of half forgot about it. But then by the end of the movie, when they introduced that there is a Joker in this universe, you know, like he exists and he's out there right now. He's already been doing some shit and he's been locked up. Now I am thinking that those guys were probably like remnants of Joker's followers that didn't get rounded up or something yet. Did you guys feel the same way?
No, because right away they laugh at him and they've like not seen this guy and they're like, "Who is this motherfucker dressed up as a bat coming towards us?"
Oh, it was supposed to be around Halloween too, wasn't it?
If we had,
right,
as it is Halloween, but if we had
the longest Halloween,
if we had the deleted scene where they established that Batman has already fought Joker, then I probably would have thought that. But because he's only shoved in at the very end, I didn't even know if Batman and Joker had known each other. Like, they could have just been that he's just a guy in the insane asylum and he hasn't committed any actual crimes yet.
And since
which is why I think they need the scene. Yeah. And I think the reason is probably runtime. Like, it was already at 3 hours, which is a big deal, especially if you're going over 3 hours, because that limits the number of screenings you could do a day at a movie theater.
Also,
and then now instead they're just juggalos.
Well, I've seen also that the kid who had half of his face painted, people are theorizing that he's Duke Thomas, and that they're going to skip all of the Robins actually, and he'll show back up, and they'll make him the Sentinel, which is one of the Robins. But like, he was like, I don't want to use the same name 5 other people have, so I'm going to be the Sentinel. And it's like it's a brief-lived thing during the Scott Snyder comics, but I've seen a lot of people theorizing that he's going to end up like coming back in future movies.
I doubt it, but if they go that route, I hope they come up with a better name.
Oh yeah, I don't personally like the character at all, but you know,
John Robin Blake. What else can we talk about this movie?
Well, also we can talk about how Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, Peter's main drive is having sex with Gamora. All right,
that's what I was
and
saying.
You have in Ant-Man, Paul Rudd's main drive is having sex with what's it called, the Wasp's chick. So I'm just saying it's complete bullshit. All right, there's characters who are super horny. All right, and their main drive is having sex with the females.
Troy, why has this got your goat so bad?
I'm just, Rebel's not going to say them because I just want it to die.
In my opinion, all right, it's total bullshit.
It's Gotham by Gaslight.
Oh man, that's a good comic.
Kind of visually looks like that Batman. This movie.
Troy, do you have any more superhero references of people trying to fuck?
Well, we're hitting that 90 minutes, which I know you really wanted to get under.
Well, the first 15 was just us bullshitting about other things, so it's not actually a full 90-minute cast. So if there's anything else we want to get out the way,
I mean, I guess we've got Multiverse next, and then we've got Moon Knight going on right now, which has been great. And
I was gonna say. Doctor Strange comes out on my birthday, and I'm considering doing my Doctor Strange cosplay to the theater. Does anyone want to go with me?
Do it. I am already booked for that night. I don't know if you guys got your tickets yet.
Yeah, we did.
I didn't get my tickets yet.
Damn.
I was like, then I don't think you're going. No.
Why do you think it's going to be that sold out?
Before we completely abandon this film, The Batman, do you have any hopes besides Court of Owls for the sequel? Like, is there a particular villain you'd like to see that would work within this world?
I honestly would like to see them hinting some superpowered stuff. Not like full on animated series Batman stuff, but some weird, more supernatural stuff, because I think it can work with this particular type.
I think they can, because I think the comparisons to this and the Dark Knight trilogy are there, but I think the big difference is that with the Dark Knight, and of course it got more ridiculous with the third film, and you could even say Batman Begins is pretty.
There was a third film.
But they say Nolan was trying to put Batman in the real world, and then a lot of people will say that about this one, but I think it's actually. It's a little bit different in that they're actually they're trying to make Gotham seem like a real place as opposed to taking Batman and putting him in our world. They're trying to make this Gotham City and these characters as authentic as possible. So that's why I think there is leeway room to bring in the fantastical if they do want to go that route. I just don't see it happening. It seems to me like he's really committed to this like street level type thing. Like, I mean, Batman's wearing Doc Martens in the movie. like I don't know if they're gonna go, Clayface, Killer Croc, or
I mean, Killer Croc
shit
could
like
work.
that.
I think
but-
Hiller Rock. So Hiller Rock is possible if you do versions of him where it's just like a skin condition,
Troy's
and like the
breaking
Hiller
up.
Rock is
Yeah,
a
we lost
nickname
Troy.
more
I'm
than an
losing his audio.
actual a half crocodile man. I really like Clayface. I think that if we be more realistic, though, we're probably gonna be going into like a direction of Professor Pitt or something like that, where it's like a guy who like just more serial killers with mental problems and less like the fantastical.
I saw someone bring up Hugo Strange would work pretty well, and I
Ooh,
think
Yeah.
I
man!
think Hugo Strange
I
would
didn't even
work
think
really
about that. That
great.
would be so good, actually.
And then
Gotham
you could
TV show
even
kinda
go
got
into
me
the
burnt out on
like
him.
maybe he's been experimenting on people, and you could go more like him like beefing people up with Venom or something like that.
Yeah,
I'd
I
like
think
that.
Bane's also a total realistic path. I think I've already set up the groundwork for it.
We saw a lot of Hugo Strange in Gotham, though. If you watch the Gotham TV show, I kind of want to see something I haven't seen at all.
I was like,
give me Man Bat. Can I have Man Bat?
Yeah,
Like-
that would be great.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'd like them to
We already
give
got
like
that.
I'd like them to give Poison Ivy another shot.
I think Poison Ivy could
And-
really work if you got
and-
rid of some of the more supernatural stuff with her, and
Well,
kind
yeah,
of
if just
more-
hypnotizing, you could do like a entire just like crime thing of like people committing crimes and they don't remember it or know why
Right.
they did it, and it's just because she's like hypnotizing
She's a really good
men.
botanist.
Using, like,
Yeah,
Well, actually,
drugs
I
and
was
poisons
kind of
and stuff.
hoping. I was hoping the Joker would go down a path of like he's a chemist. It's like they actually do a lot of stuff where he like makes the Joker laughing gas and like he wants to poison the reservoir and stuff like that. So like you could do the same with Poison Ivy, where she's just like, yeah, she knows plants, she knows what tea will do what to what person, like, and he grounded in the eco-terrorist. Don't make her literally wear like leaves for a bikini, and just make her a psychopath, a mass murderer who uses plants, and you could totally go down that route.
And then with Poison Ivy, you can have Clayface who's trying to fuck her, and then Troy will watch it.
Remember the
I'm
Batman
the
and Robin
complete
scene?
opposite of that. Like,
He's like, rubber lips. It's the ultimate solution. I don't want to speculate or read too much into this. I don't think this will happen, but Matt Reeves has, in interviews, said that he's really interested in Mr. Freeze, and he actually does see a way that he could be in this universe, and he has an interpretation of it. I think that means he won't be using that character, because you wouldn't just tell a journalist that if you do plan to do that. So I think
not
that
for the next
confirms that we
movie,
won't
at
be
least.
seeing Mr. Freeze, but he has mentioned that it's something he's thought about a lot, and he's got an idea for it.
I would love
I
for
would-
them
I
to
would
just
love
keep
to
making
see-
these movies, though. Like this is legitimately my favorite like movie.
Yeah. His
versus
Planet of the
Batman.
Apes movies were great too. He
Oh,
he
yeah.
knows how to make a good studio film while also making it his own. So
I do wonder
Zaz would be
what the
fun.
Flash will do to all this stuff, or if the Flash is even going to come out anymore.
I think it'll come out, but I don't think it will like be the source of truth for DC films,
DC
as
just-
I think they were building it for.
DC just needs to abandon their like movie universe thing. Like it's been a huge clusterfuck. Like they've been
That's the
trying
crazy
to make
thing.
it work.
Because they've got this Flashpoint movie, right? And like they've teed it up, and like it's not a spoiler because it's been widely reported. They even have the footage in the minimal trailers that they've released that we're gonna see Keaton and Batflex in there too. And the idea is they're gonna use Flashpoint to try and erase some things and kind of verge multiple storylines together, with the idea being that they want Keaton to become the new Batman face of the DCEU.
Which is so stupid.
That'd be odd.
Which is really stupid.
That'd be
And
very
then
odd.
they doubled down on it because he's in the Batgirl movie for HBO. So like they've already shot 2 fucking movies with Michael Keaton Batman.
And
So
the
weird.
problem too is like you have
old.
theoretically Shazam has no attachment. Like we could go a direction where Shazam just isn't part of the DC EU technically, like, but you have Shazam, you have Wonder Woman 3, which has already been greenlit. You have Black Adam, which like that's still in the DCEU. So it's like they can't even afford to abandon it. They have Aquaman 2 because they have the next like 3-4 years. They've already put billions of dollars into trying to like keep this dead horse alive. Like, it sucks.
It would just be better if they just start trying to detach those movies from each other, and instead they might be in the same universe, but who gives a shit kind of thing. Like, they should just try and tell their own stories instead of them being their own thing, because at this point it's hurting the franchise more than it's actually helping.
Well, and what's funny is Shazam and Black Adam could have been their own thing, because originally in comics they weren't part of the same universe as Batman and Superman and stuff like that. So they had Marvel World, which was their own thing. But you've included so many other DC characters into Black Adam that you couldn't go that route, because you have Hawkman and you have Dr. Fate and all that stuff.
See, you totally could do that. They could just play it off as an Earth 2 thing. They don't have
it
doesn't have to be looped in with all of the bullshit that is all the Man of Steel drama and Batfleck and all of, like, they could just not.
Well, maybe Discovery, their new boss daddies, will make that choice.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys read the interview that I posted in the chat, but like, it seems like they're not happy with the current state of DC either.
Good.
So
Good.
Their biggest issue being, where's the fucking Superman movie?
yeah. Like,
Well,
a copy of Superman just Action Helmets #1 just sold for $5.3 million. You can't tell me there's not an audience for this character.
Maybe we'll get a good Green Lantern movie again at some point.
Oh my god,
We're getting
I would
a show.
love a good Green Lantern movie.
They've already shot the show for HBO, but it's I think there's no Hal or John. It's like Guy and like some other.
Just do Kyle Rayner. Like, why?
I'm sorry. I think it might be Kyle then. Yeah.
Well, I'd be
wants
happy
Guy.
if it. Yeah,
It's
I'd be
so
happy.
weird,
if it's
though.
Kyle.
It's so weird to have Hal Rainier and not have Hal Jordan, because the
Yeah.
only reason that Hal Rainier exists is because Hal Jordan went evil and killed like everyone. And Hal Rainier is the single, like, in the comics, Hal Rainier only becomes Green Lantern. He's not chosen. It's because there's literally is a dying Guardian who has the last ring that could ever exist and gives it to literally the first person he sees, which happens to be Hal Rainier. And it's so like embedded in his character and his personality is whether or not he feels that he's worthy of the choice, because he didn't go through the same process everyone else did. So if you're just picking Hal Rainier as a fan favorite, but doing none of his personality or character or history, like, it's a little weird from my perspective.
It's not weird, Troy. It's just a DC thing.
Yeah, I was like, just because
you're
Kyle,
you're not wrong.
just because Kyle walked out of a bar to go piss in an alley, and some dude's like, "Hey, bro, you want a ring?" Like, that's all they have to do.
I looked at the show's IMDb, which is weird because they've already shot the thing, but they only have 2 cast members listed on the IMDb page, and it's the only 2 characters they list are Guy Gardner and Alan Scott, who I'm not.
Cool.
They're going Alan Scott. That's weird.
That's like Earth 2, right? Or Earth 1?
They've merged him in, but
Yeah.
it's like, Justice League Society instead. That is a weird, as he's not even officially a real Green Lantern.
Well, that's a bummer.
What trailer Marvel-wise have we not gotten? What's the next movie?
Thor.
Thor's
Thor's
which is
the one that they
2
keep-
months away from coming out. It's fucking crazy.
It is
Like,
kinda-
We haven't seen a trailer for Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? Or did we?
Yeah, we have.
Oh, I
There's
didn't see
there's
it.
been a trailer that's coming out in like a month. So yeah, but Thor I think is still slated for like July.
Yeah,
We
I
haven't
don't
seen
think
anything.
they pushed it or anything, and we still haven't seen anything aside from the weird-looking toys for Gore.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
they'll
saw
have
that.
Maybe they'll have some sort of teaser in the credits for Doctor.
I was going to
Strange,
ask
and
you
then
guys:
they'll-
does the character normally look like that, or is that a wildly different interpretation?
It's kind of an interpretation. Normally, he doesn't have a nose.
but he's like all white and shit.
Yeah.
But if you're
Thor.
paying for Christian Bale, though, you're gonna have a nose.
Yeah, that's what I was shocking to me is like he kind of looked like, I mean, from the side of a fucking action figure, like drawing, like it looked like, you know, like a skinny white Drax, from what I could see on that.
I mean,
blurry image.
he looks relatively like that.
Yeah. Okay.
But that is a ridiculously overstuffed movie as well.
Yeah, who knows what that's gonna be.
I know people really love Ragnarok, and I like it. I enjoy it, but it's just really goofy, and like I feel like it kind of shits on like the seriousness of his story, you know, because you know his dad's dies, and then they're making dick jokes like 10 seconds later. Like there's like no reaction to the death of Odin, and they just start throwing zingers at each other immediately.
Fast. They move really fast through that movie too. Like you have stuff like you have this whole thing where you think it's a movie where it's a buddy cop movie where these two people are gonna try to find him, but then they find him and then they move on, and it's like, oh, all right, you think that there's gonna be this whole they're lost on this planet, how do they get out of it? But then they just get out of it. Like it does move through a lot of things fast, so I'm worried about Love and Thunder doing the same thing, where you're just like, oh, what's going on with the hammer? Oh, it's back. Oh, well, what's going on? Oh, well, he's beat. Like, it doesn't matter, you know? Like, there's not...
To Troy's point earlier about how you have to underlie every serious thing with a joke, like, A, are they going to go the cancer route with Jane? And B, is there just going to be a ton of cancer jokes?
Natalie Portman's like, I have cancer, and then he's like, is that like
why you're bald?
What is that?
Yeah,
I really just
like,
don't. Feel like
I'm a Taurus.
It's like Loki gave me cancer once. Deadly stuff.
I find Ragnarok entertaining. I just wish that we could get a good, serious Thor movie that like highlights all the high fantasy that is it.
And you'll get that in Guardians 3.
Movie, though? Like, what more is there?
The thing too is God of Thunder that they're basing or the Yod Butcher off is very serious.
Yeah,
like, that's why it's like considered one of the best. Is it's a very serious book, and well, I mean, to that point, Planet Hulk is very serious too, and they just fill that with jokes and kind of undercut that as well.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I'm kind of worried about Love and Thunder, because I don't know if Taika Waititi can make that movie.
I mean, hell, Taika Waititi made fucking Holocaust jokes in Jojo Rabbit, so like the man has no line he won't cross.
Just like Justin.
I just want Doctor Doom. Just give me Doom. That's all I want.
Anyway.
Another movie that's slated for later this year, which I didn't know, is Black Panther 2.
Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Coming out so fast.
Yeah, we still have not seen anything from that either.
As far as I know, I think they're still fucking filming it. So yeah, gonna be pretty stunning if they get that launched in time. Well, they did move it all the way back to like I want to say like November or December, but they still intend to release it this year. I don't know. I have no expectations for that. Like, we've talked about it on the show before. Like, personal opinion, I think they should have just waited and like figured out a way to do it. But I mean, who knows? Maybe they did find out a great fucking way to continue that story. So we'll see. But like, my personal thoughts were just like, just give it some time, recast, or take the time to figure out a nice way to do this.
His sister's gonna marry Storm, and then it's gonna play "I'll See You Again" at the end, and then they're gonna do a big send off.
Yeah, she'll be giving a monologue at the beginning about how T'Challa got vaxxed, and that's why he's gone.
God damn it. Anyway, I think we're good. Justin, please release the story.
Thank you guys
for coming on the episode. It's been 2 months. I hope you enjoyed listening to the Batman. If you want to hear Troy talk about more comic book stuff, you can listen to his
sex.
Included. There's lots of sex in the comic books.
My whole point with all that was that you don't need a 2-minute long actual set scene in Eternals. All right, like I was anti set scene by saying there's plenty of sexual tension in other movies. All right.
If you want to read about people fucking and then Troy with his voice describe people fucking, go listen to the Comics Code Atrocity podcast.
Very sensual.
And if you want to hear about movies from the early 90s like Scream and The Craft, you can listen to Tanner's new podcast, The Really Refreshing Podcast, which he's going to be recording a new episode today.
Yay. Today's episode will be about the Kevin Smith classic, Chasing Amy.
Oh, man. Wait, who's the guest then?
The guest is my friend Adam from film school. He's a major cinephile.
Well,
So,
I know you were a fan of Chasing Amy back in the day, so...
Yeah, it's going to be a fun episode. I think we both got to experience it in a different light in today's standards.
Yeah, and then...
Are you and I going to do a Tron episode?
And then Brandon and I are going to be doing Tron for
let me know when you
episode
wanna
3.
do that. Okay.
Yeah, and then, while you're at it, why don't you guys go buy a copy of Boss Battle?
Woo!
Yeah.
I mean, that would be great.
Because
if
everyone
you could
listening
buy a
can
copy
see
of
you
Boss
holding
Battle.
up the box.
Yeah, everyone listening can hear me holding the box, just like they heard Matt open and close the door and pick up ferrets 5 times. And
Getting
then,
into shit.
well, that's their job, Matt. Who are you to tell them how to do their job?
I'm not.
Yeah. And then, if you enjoy Chernobyl escape rooms and Final Fantasy Renaissance, head on over to Brandon's Discord where you can play Final Fantasy with all the job classes.
Some of the
And
job classes.
All of them. Every one.
Sure,
Eh,
why not?
Every
Yeah,
job
why not?
class from every Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy
Yeah.
1.
Hey, that is my goal. If I can keep the motivation to actually keep working on that project, I've been like limping along here and there with it, but
Yeah, he's even going to add a mod to add real human Sora, but with his 6 foot feet back.
Goodbye,
Because-
everybody.